So, Ryan, we've heard more of the same from President Trump, essentially, that this is a witch hunt, weaponization of the Justice Department, that they are trying to interfere with the 2024 election, now essentially saying that they shouldn't stop him from saying these things, whether on the campaign trail or on Truth Social.
I was talking to a former federal prosecutor who said that Trump's legal strategy and his political strategy are two scorpions in a bottle fighting each other to the death. The political strategy here is get up and say whatever and bash the process and bash the players. And there's a reason why criminal defense attorneys don't usually schedule a rally with a large microphone and bring their defendant up to give a speech, because it's a terrible idea in court. So these things are playing very differently to the audience of Trump supporters that he's talking to, and Republican primary voters even, that he's talking to right now directly, than they are to the judge who's being attacked and who has the power to make decisions on some of these procedural matters in this court case that could really determine the outcome.
Donald Trump's defense attorney, John Lauro, did the full Ginsburg over the weekend, by my count at least, right? That was all 5 Sunday morning shows. And it really came together in pretty remarkable fashion over the last week here, Laura. Not only Donald Trump, but the entire legal team getting on board quickly with a narrative that a lot of people are now repeating, essentially. First Amendment, weaponization of government, election interference. You can't go after somebody for something that they say in this country. Let's actually hear from Donald Trump's defense attorney speaking to CBS's Face the Nation in this case about pursuing a location change, a venue change in this case. Here he is.
Absolutely. We would like a diverse venue, a diverse jury.
Do you have any expectation that will be granted?
That reflects the characteristics of the American people. It's up to the judge. I think West Virginia would be an excellent venue to try this case.
Then you add this layer as well. You can't get a fair jury in a decrepit, decaying, filthy city like Washington, the swamp, as the president called it last week. How are they doing? People may not agree with this narrative, but they've been pretty well in sync over the last week.
Yeah, I mean, Trump's team has been out there in lockstep. There's been fundraising email after fundraising email. The campaign has not yet said how much money they've brought in, but that's expected to be a big number. Trump is preparing for a very public couple of weeks coming up. There's the Iowa State Fair, and very public in front of voters. There's the debate coming up, still unclear whether he'll be on the stage with his fellow Republican primary challengers on that. But he is really kind of journeying up this messaging tornado that's all moving and sweeping, and in some cases just wiping out the competition, who is either too scared to take him on or doesn't have enough attention to really fight back against Trump.
Okay, so that's the messaging coming from the former president, who currently is the frontrunner for the Republican nomination. The presumptive Democrat nominee, of course, is President Joe Biden, who is, as we speak, heading to Joint Base Andrews to head to the Southwest to tout the Bidenomics message, which he has been repeatedly trying to do for some time now. Doesn't really show that anything strong with the economy reflected in his approval rating. So, Laura, as he goes on the stump for Bidenomics once again, it just feels like it's not connecting.
The really unfortunate thing for Joe Biden is that he's not going to get credit. If he is successfully avoided a recession so far, saw last week, major banks calling off their predictions for recession, but you don't get the same credit on the upside as you would have get, sort of the frustration on the downside. Saying, hey, look, here's this counterfactual. There might have been a recession. Now it's not. People are like, well, I'm still paying, significantly more for gas, significantly more for groceries, significantly more in rent. Even though prices have started to tick down in some of these places, it's still, up 20% in many cases, like rent, from where it was pre-pandemic. So they've been experiencing a lot of downsides. And while it's not as bad as it could have been, Biden just isn't going to be able to reap that and get that satisfaction from voters.
If you look at the trajectory, though, and you think about the number of banks that have recently called off their warning of a recession, the trajectory of inflation that a year from now could be significantly lower, could actually time out really well for someone running for re-election, no?
Historically, presidents running for re-election are judged not based on some sort of standard of the economy, but on whether people feel that it's getting better. So there have been presidents who were reelected in the middle of the Great Depression, but people felt like it's better than it was a couple of years ago, so we're on the right path. And there have been presidents who were elected in much better economies than the Great Depression who lost re-election because people felt like it was headed downhill. So really, the key there is going to be the first 2 quarters of next year, whether people are developing an opinion at that time that things are on the right track, And by then it will sort of crystallize, and there's not a lot that either side's going to be able to do on that front.
Well, there's also the argument to be made that if growth is too resilient and people keep spending and fueling inflation, that you're just going to have a continued inflation problem. And then ultimately, the Fed's going to have to clamp down even harder and could bring about a hard landing, just a later one than previously thought. So that's on kind of the big macroeconomic issues that are at play for everyone in 2024, Ryan. But there's also some other issues as well, like the issue of abortion. This is something we heard Ron DeSantis speaking about in his interview with NBC that has been rolling out over the last 24 hours, the idea of it being state by state rather than something that Congress is going to get done. But in one state in particular, Ohio, a special election tomorrow that I know you are very keyed into. Tell us what's going on there and why it might be significant.
So Ohio Republicans, who pretty much control the state at this point, it's really a red state now, and Trump won it by 8 points. They were a little nervous about a ballot measure that is going to be on the ballot in November to add abortion rights to the state constitution, which would be kind of an end run around the legislature and even the state Supreme Court, which they control. So they put a ballot measure on tomorrow in an August special election, even though they had kind of sworn off of August special elections because they're very low turnout, with the goal of making it so they would need to get 60% to pass any future ballot measures. And this was pretty explicitly aimed at the abortion measure in November and would affect that. And they were hoping this would be low turnout. Already we're seeing really high turnout, lines around the block, people waiting for hours. Clearly that did not work. And so we'll see tomorrow if this ballot measure goes down by a significant margin, then that will be yet another indicator that the abortion ballot in November is likely to pass in Ohio. And that would make it the 6th or 7th state, depending on how you count it, maybe 8th, that would have had a ballot measure specifically on abortion in which abortion rights won. There was several measures that were trying to restrict it that failed last year and several measures that were supportive that passed. And there was also a Wisconsin State Supreme Court race that really turned on the issue.
Right.
So it's state by state. It's pretty much coming out on the side of abortion rights so far.